I'm Bill Simmons, Artistic Director of the Phoenix Theater, and today I am talking with Emily Westine Holloway, who is the Artistic Director of Summerstock Stage, and their program Eclipse works out of the Phoenix Theater. So Emily, tell me a little bit about Summerstock Stage, its origins, and specifically how Eclipse fits in.
Okay, so our organization is 17 years old already, and we are a not-for-profit theater company for young artists. Typically we serve about 100 young artists each summer. We do 2 main stage musicals. So about 14 years in, we just started to feel like we were investing so much in these young performers. A lot of times we were seeing them back for 5 or 6 years, helping to send them off to college for musical theater, and then they were pursuing professional careers in the arts, but we felt like there weren't enough opportunities for them to come back to Indianapolis. And so we started Eclipse, which was the professional arm of Summerstock Stage. So part of Eclipse is for us to be able to continue to invest in them. But the goal essentially is to help bridge their experience from Summerstock Stage to a professional experience, and to provide more opportunities for young artists professionally in Indianapolis. So that's how we partnered with the Phoenix.
So how old do you have to be to participate in Eclipse?
So Summerstock Stage takes you through high school, and you have to have been at least 1 year out of high school to audition for Eclipse. But we've had alumni as old as like 30 be a part of Eclipse. Actually this year we were bringing back, which it got canceled, but we were bringing back Adam Shapiro, who was in our very first Summerstock production, and he's in his mid-30s and is on The Marvelous Miss Maisel, as well as was in The Yiddish Fiddler on Broadway and The Normal Heart. So he has a lot of credit. So we have alumni who are that old, but you have to have at least been out of high school for 1 year. So one of the things that we decided to do is to figure out if we could still serve our mission despite the circumstances. And we felt that we could. So we offered a virtual experience this summer. We had 34 students from 19 different schools from throughout central Indiana. So obviously it was a lot less students, which I understand because it's not the same. But we were able to bring on new students. So about half of those students were new to us. And we studied a different musical each week, and then they submitted videos of themselves. We had guest artists, guest speakers. We talked about things like the difference between a BA and a BFA and a Bachelor of Music. And then they had 2 dance classes a week, one in tap, one in jazz. We had somebody from the Broadway cast of Newsies come and speak when we worked on Newsies. So they had 2 voice lessons a week in small groups. We worked through the Practical Handbook for an Actor, which is what I teach out of at Butler. So we really tried to make them have to allow them to have a very full, enriching experience. And I think that for the most part they did.
Let me just say, I think you've got an amazing group of artists who work with you to teach and create what you create. So I just want to say kudos to all those names you just rattled off. So, but keep going. I'm so sorry.
So we did this. So it was just like, we just figured out how to rehearse them. They took a dance, like we did choreography and dance, and then they had to submit their video, and then Joey edited all together. So WFYI did a special on us just because we had hundreds of students who participated, because the idea was that they just really had to come to a couple rehearsals at the beginning of the week, and they didn't have to commit to the whole series or whatever. They could just commit as they went. So we started with that song from Avenue Q, I Wish I Could Go Back to College, with a lot of our alumni. And then after that, it was open to sort of anybody who wanted to participate. And my goal for them was just to allow them to figure out how to do their art even though they were in isolation, because it's hard for theater artists to figure out how they can to be a part of a production. It's hard to figure out how to pursue their art in isolation. So I was just trying to figure that out and to figure out how we could still join together in community. So I feel like we did a good job. We're very creative people. Obviously, we're working with really inexperienced young people all the time, and so the challenge of making them look good, we have to constantly be creative. I remember when I directed something at the Phoenix, which was like my first professional directing opportunity, I was like, oh my God, this is so much easier because I'm used to dealing.
And just, I know what it is, but I'd like you to tell me a little bit about what it was, because I thought it was delightful.
Oh, thanks. So it was the Book of Mormon. So it was this musical, like spoof on the Book of Mormon with Ethel Merman. But, I'm used to working with sometimes, like one time I had 82 kids in a show. So I'm used to doing a musical with all of these really young. So then when I got to do that, and there was this really small cast, I think like a weekend, I was like, so we're done. Like, what else do we do? It's just, I didn't realize like how much more challenging doing these huge, big scale musicals with young people is than some other types of theater.
It is work.
It is a lot of work.
And it's just a whole different thing. It's like, because you're not only you're directing, you're teaching a lot of the times in the director's chair. And then you work with adult actors, professional actors, like, oh, they take the note.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's nice about us is that we have so many, like about 50% of our cast every year, or maybe more sometimes, are returning. So they really understand the expectations. So it's kind of like the new kids are joining a really fast cross-country team. So they get it. They get we work really hard to establish really high expectations. And, for the most part, these are very highly interested, self-motivated kids.
Tell me a little bit about your plans for becoming an equity theater. I know it's in your long-range plan, strategic plan to become an equity theater. What does that mean? Why you're doing that? And how? Well, let's just start with that.
So I guess I've been a member of equity for maybe like 25 years. And especially in musical theater, I feel like in straight theater, you can work a lot in non-equity and have a lot of great experiences. In musical theater, it's really hard. You can't even get into the doors to audition without an equity card. So as far as creating opportunities for young performers and bridging their experience from summer stock stage to a professional experience, the opportunity to be a part of, to gain points to become equity was really important to me. And I think also like our goal for Eclipse is to raise up people who are interested in pursuing this professionally. And I know that you can pursue theater professionally and not be a part of the union. But especially with singing, like you have to be really careful. You can't sing an unlimited amount per week. And so I feel like the union is really good about keeping people safe, singers and dancers safe. So that's just something that's been important to me. And I think also it helps to legitimize our program. So, and I know with partnering with the Phoenix, you're an equity organization. So I think it just brings a level of credibility and professionalism to what we're hoping to do with Eclipse.
Jumping back a little bit to your inaugural project in the Phoenix Theater was Violet, correct?
That's right, yeah.
And I know that Eric Olson, who is a frequent performer in the Phoenix Theater, was in that production. What do you feel the benefit is of having equity guest artists working with your young non-union actors? What do you think that brings?
Yeah, so we have done that since our first Eclipse show was Spring Awakening, and Chuck Goad and Constance were both in that. So, and it worked out so well. I think the level of professionalism, obviously it's a smaller group, and but just the professionalism that they bring, and it just changes the dynamic. Plus it's then run like an equity rehearsal. We run the rehearsal all with equity rules because we have an equity member there. And we rehearse 8-hour days, which is just different from, summer stock stage where we're sort of rehearsing in the evening for a few hours. So it's a very short, it's a 2-week shorter, it feels very different, very small group, more intense. And we from the beginning wanted to make sure that they were all getting paid the equity rate, even though we didn't have equity contracts for them. That I've actually even been impressed with just what a difference that makes in their mindset, just for it to be their job and for them to be getting paid.
Well, and I think it's really nice, particularly to hear that like Chuck Goad and Constance Macy and Eric Olson have worked with the company, because it's one of the.
And Carlos.
Oh, right. Carlos Maldonado, right. Who is supposed to be doing a lunch club for us.
Yeah. Yeah, he was fantastic in Violet.
Yes, he was. Actually, I saw that last summer. I thought that it was well done. And what I was going to say about hiring local professional artists is you're contributing to their ability to live and stay in Indianapolis and work in Indianapolis. And that's one of the things that I think it was included in our plans for the new Phoenix Theater, was to create a more robust Phoenix that would allow more equity artists to work and be able to stay in Indianapolis. So kudos to you guys for doing that. Let me ask you this. Where are you, I guess, artistically with this pandemic, and what do you see as, are you hopeful? Are you pessimistic? Are you prepared to throw in the towel? Are you more convinced than ever of the importance of your work? Whatever you're feeling.
I think probably like everybody, I sort of vacillate between all of those things. Like I haven't had a summer off since I've had children, and in 16 years. So like, I remember at the beginning of the summer, like I was like, well, what do people do in the summer? Like, I don't even know. Like, so it was a real shift for me, just because I don't have a summer routine, especially with my children. Didn't really realize until the break, just exactly, how much of a blur every one of my summers has been.
I do. I'm feeling like I'm getting a lot of focus and clarity about how I want to come back to the work. And I'm right there with you. Like, there's a certain amount of work. I think we're learning how to workshop plays via Zoom. We're about to embark on a series of those. We've got some play readings we're scheduling, but they're only 2 and 3 person casts. We're not going to try to do big cast readings. So it's simplicity. But I feel like at the same place that you are. It's just this time with like my family is also allowing me to be more thoughtful about how I want to be with them. And then when I'm working in Phoenix business, how I can be more thoughtful and productive doing that.
I think last summer, and we only had one Eclipse show, we had 60 professionals on the payroll for summer stock. So,
wow.
So that includes designers, technicians, orchestra. So stage managers, assistant stage managers, directors, choreographers, music directors, front of house staff, all of that kind of thing. So that doesn't include the, I would say probably 100. There probably were 100 actors. So it's just a lot.
That's insane. That is in a single summer?
Yeah. So I think Millie had a cast of 42, and
wow.
Into the Woods had a cast of 24. We ran an academy with probably 26 students, and then we had 11 actors in Violet. We are just so anxious to get back together with our people and sing and dance together.
That's one of the things I keep telling myself is I think this break in producing really is also about learning to be a better human and listening. And that's kind of what I'm really leaning into, is like, okay, let's talk to some people and hear what they have to say to me.
And I think that's what our art is about ultimately, right? About being a better person and telling stories so that, we can connect to each other in new and different ways.
Well, Emily, that was a lovely way to end this conversation. No, I'm tremendously. The board is like, you seem optimistic and hopeful, and they're like, why the hell do you feel it? I'm like, I guess it's because I'm an artist at heart, but also, the theater's been around since the Greeks invented it, so it ain't going away because of this pandemic. And if anything, I think it's going to allow us
No,
all.
and I feel like if you could just see these young people and how dedicated they are and what great ideas and how smart they are, and like the future is bright. I hope we're back in your beautiful building soon.
Well, we shall see. We're hoping to be back.
Yeah, we're super proud to partner with you guys and support everything that you're doing. So thank you so much for your efforts, and especially how supportive you are of us. We really appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome. Be well.
You too.
Bye.